Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We will be talking about refactoring practice, and today, during the demo, we will improve the code that is not really that great. I hope you recognize today's speaker. Ivan has been with us for a long time already, and before passing the word to him, I'd like to remind you that you can ask your questions in the chat. We will try to answer them all. And also, if you uh, see some parts of code that can be improved from your perspective and we do not improve them, you can give us a hint. We will really appreciate it. And as always, if you like the video, please like it and subscribe to the channel. It helps a lot. And with this, I'm passing the words to you, Ivan.
Okay, thanks, Daniela. So hello everyone. Today we will talk about refactoring, why it's important, and how you can understand that your code is actually good and not as bad as it can be. Today our business logic will be related to booking system. So let's say we have a task to create a service which will be able to create bookings for our clients. So today we won't talk about Spring. So our service will be just a simple Java service without any Spring. Also, we won't cover database connections. So service can talk to some databases, but we won't cover this topic. We will just mock all our dependencies with just some dummy classes and etc. Okay, so booking system, let's get started. Let's check our entities first. We have client, just first name, last name, list of booking, nothing extraordinary. We have hotel room with some simple fields: floor, number, capacity, price per night, rating, and booking with start date, end date, room, client, cost, and some simple requirements here. Again, let's say these requirements are coming from the customer. So these are some constraints that we have. Okay, so first requirement is pretty simple: client can book a hotel room. So we know what we're talking about. Second requirement is that payment should be processed by some third-party library, which will be called mule payment for us. So we don't really care about it, but just to familiarize our example with some production experience, let's say real services, real microservices are related to some third-party integrations. So today we will talk about third-party integrations as well. Some validations here: if client doesn't exist, booking should fail. If hotel room doesn't exist, booking should fail. So basic validation. For example, let's say cost can't be below 0, something like that. So we should support basic validation, and some let's say unusual requirements. So room price can be reduced by client bonus points. In this case, bonus points should be reducted from the client. And also for some future reasons, for future perspective, customer wants us to store last update date of the booking. Let's say we want, for some statistics in the future, we want to store that date. Okay, so I think we have covered all of our requirements, and let's see our initial implementation of booking service. So I hope that you can see my screen and you can see this booking service with create booking method. So I will show the whole class here. Okay. Yeah. So I see a lot of let's say a lot of minuses here, a lot of points that can be improved or must be improved, must be fixed. So as Danila proposed, you can type your suggestions in the chat and we will fix it or discuss if we disagree with you at some point. So yeah, let's start fixing it. Yeah, I think we shouldn't fix it in some particular order. I think we should just discuss it topic by topic. Let's say that we have a pull request, and let's say we just reviewing it. Okay. So I think we can start with some simple things. Um, First of all, what I see here is that method name is CreateBooking. So we have booking service and method is called CreateBooking. I actually don't like it because for me, this booking suffix is unnecessary. I can't imagine a booking service which will create something which is not booking. If your booking service creates something different than booking, then you should consider renaming your service or separating your service. So I think this booking suffix is unnecessary and should be removed. So, and yeah, Danila, guys, if there are some disagreement on each of my points, yeah, we can discuss it right away. So,
Uh, yeah, well, I totally agree that booking service dot create booking, and here we pass booking request booking to many bookings. So I totally agree with this change. I don't think that there will be any argument here. Uh, I think we can go further. I really dislike lines 23 to 25. Uh, these throw new runtime exception on the same line, so it's not the same. Well, it's not a best practice from the code style perspective.
so yeah, I will
Yeah,
try to
let's
refactor it in parallel. So do you want it
instead of
like
it,
some stuff?
we can press a hotkey. Oh my god, what is the hotkey that optimizes everything? I don't remember. Okay, let's do it in the old good way.
Yeah, so this looks much better to me. It's more readable. I think it's actually more readable.
We have a hint in the chat. Control Alt L. It reformats the whole file according to your
Okay. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
settings. Yeah. In general, I just would like to hint that a lot of problems on the project can be caused because of some different code styles, and you can enforce it using two major tools that I know. These are check style. It can just check that the code style follows some conventions that you specify, and the second tool is spotless. it can not only find the problems but also automatically
Fix
fix them.
Yeah.
And you can make your build incorporate spotless and just forget about some redundant imports, etc.
Yep. So totally agree. Actually, my current project has these spotless checks, and your pull request build will fail if some errors, issues found by spotless plugin. So yeah, spotless is really useful, in my opinion.
Yeah, we have a comment that the hotkeys that we're talking about work only in IntelliJ IDEA. Yes, it's true. If you're using Eclipse, they will probably vary, but yeah, we are mainly focusing on IDEA.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we can move on. And since we already talking about these checks, so actually I don't like these checks at all here. Okay, so from my point of view, this is if we're talking about single responsibility principle, I think that these checks kind of breaking this principle here. So I actually prefer to create a separate class for this. Okay. So by the way, Daniela, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes. Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I will create a special class which will validate my booking. Okay, and there can be a lot of validators for booking. So actually, I will prefer name CreateBooking validator. So there can be some different booking validators. For example, I don't know, update booking validator, create booking validator, delete booking validator. Can be a lot of
So
booking validators.
for different requests, your booking can require different fields, and so the validation can be different. And using some frameworks like Spring, you can make this validation automatic. So for now, we will just probably copy paste it and call the method.
Yes. So and I moved all these checks in our validator.
It doesn't have bonus points. So for now, we can pass bonus points to these methods. It's not
Okay. Yeah, I get it. Okay. So yeah, this validate method returns boolean true or false.
Well, for now, it just returns true or throws an exception.
Yeah. So we are trying to improve our code. So we have a new dependency here, and we will call it here request and bonus points.
So if it's valid, we don't care about it.
Yeah. So if it's if it is not valid, let's say for now we will just again. Yeah. So I want to throw runtime exception here. Okay. For now. So yeah.
Yeah, we have to change validate method. It throws exception. It doesn't return false.
Yeah. So yeah. don't see a reason to throw exception here, so we can turn false. So if some of this check doesn't match,
I would probably prefer throw an exception in the validator, because we can specify the reason in the exception message. So you return false, and we cannot distinguish what is wrong. And if we throw an exception and pass some message there, we can see that exactly the field cost is invalid.
Yep. So good point. In this case, I want to talk about exception classes itself. So I hope that everybody knows exception classes structure. So we have exception, and runtime exception is a child of exception, right? And I don't like code which throws actually runtime exception itself. I think that for just from best practices perspective, there should be different exceptions for different cases. So I want to create CreateBooking validation exception, which extends runtime exception. So do we want to create a field reason? Maybe not. Maybe we can.
Let's just to save name. Let's create a constructor that accepts some string message, and we can return
there is a field. There is a field called message, right?
Not field. Yeah, super constructor. Yeah.
So constructor which accepts strings. So.
On the VR community platform, I see comments about TDD approach. It's a great one, but on today's session, we're trying to concentrate on some best practices in the code itself, not on how to write it. And if we try to follow the TDD, we would spend just all the time changing the tests. So it's good, but not.
So agree. So if you are using TDD approach, then of course, there should be a lot of tests. But actually, from my experience, there are few projects that are actually using TDD approach. So you should.
It probably depends on the programmer, not the project.
Maybe can be.
Okay. We have a question: is it necessary to make CreateBook validator implement some interface like booking validator?
Well, good question. I actually think that it makes sense. What do you think, Daniela? Does it make sense?
For now, no, because we pass booking request and integer bonus points, and if we extract an interface here, we would have to specify a method validate that accepts request and some integer. So for now, it wouldn't be that beautiful.
Let's say. I will try to summarize. So your point is totally valid. So I would agree with your comment. But for now, our current code has some issues with, let's say, highest priority. Okay, so this kind of refactoring, this kind of fix is necessary, but their priority is lower than some of our issues that we still have. Okay, so we need to fix some critical issues first. Yeah, I think we can, since we are throwing an exception, we can just place it like that. And so we can, since we are using runtime exceptions, we shouldn't introduce try catch, right? And there should be some handlers which will handle this exception for us in controller level.
Yeah.
Agree?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
So I think we can go further and just return to the validator if we have time. So the next problem that I see is we do not set CreateBook validator. So this field is not initialized.
So yeah, actually, it's a good catch.
Okay, so for all other fields we have getters and setters.
And let's maybe talk about these getters and setters. So from my point of view, they are just unnecessary. Why do we need them? So maybe setters, if we're talking about Spring, maybe we want somehow initialize our beans using setters, right? But I'm just trying to imagine something. So getters.
I'm totally against of setters in these services, even in Spring, because if you have a field that is supposed to change only once during the creation, you should do it in the constructor, not in some setters.
Yeah, agree. So now we need to somehow initialize them. Constructor is a totally valid point here.
Yeah, so the Spring, we can talk a bit about it. It supports auto-wiring the dependencies through fields, setters, and constructors. And in 99% of cases, constructor is your choice. It's proposed by the Spring developers, so better use it because of, well, it's more testable, it's easier to grasp, it requires less code, and it's not as tied to the Spring as if you use a field injection.
So I introduced constructor, and we have a hint from idea that we can make these fields final. So I totally agree with IntelliJ here, right? So we can make all these fields final. And again, let's imagine that we're talking about Spring here, constructor injection, and everything is totally valid. Okay.
We have a few comments on YouTube. Interface extendance is not possible because method validate seems to have different semantics. Yes, for now, but maybe we will change it a bit later. Can we define validation methods as static? Maybe Ivan will disagree with me, but I would say that it's better to try to avoid statics as much as possible. It's better to use object methods because it's easier to test them. And if you have just an object, again, if we're talking about Spring, it can be put to the Spring context, and well, it's easy to work with that. Easier.
I actually totally agree. So I was in some situations where I have to test some methods with a lot of static invocations, and it was a lot of pain actually. So from the testing perspective, maybe it's not the best perspective, but I actually, if I have a choice, I would create a validator object, and yeah, actually, I think it's just better. Okay, so maybe we can continue. So
Yeah.
actually, what I don't like here is line 34. This kind of issue. So right now we have booking, bonus points, client ID, hotel room ID. So in the future there can be a lot of arguments, like, I don't know, maybe some boolean is VIP, I don't know, is client VIP, or some other arguments which I just can't imagine right now. So what I actually prefer is to use data transfer object pattern here. So if you are not familiar with data transfer object pattern, I would try to explain it in a few words. So usually we have requests from some UI, and after some processing, these requests will end up in database. But they can be different, and we can let's say we can use this difference in our own way. So we have this class booking. This class has a lot of fields, for example, hotel room, client. So I can imagine that we should get a hotel room based on booking, things like that. But if we are talking about UI, I can imagine page with booking details, and this page won't contain information about client or information about hotel room. This page itself, again, of course, user can press some buttons and see some hotel room details, client details, but it can be different call, different invocations of our application. So for me, data transfer object is about it. Sorry, what?
Let's start coding. Maybe it would be a bit more clear.
Yeah, sure. So I will introduce data transfer object folder, and let's introduce booking data transfer object class. So this class, let's just copy paste all these fields from booking, and I think we don't need hotel room here. We need hotel room ID. I think we don't need client here. We need client ID.
So this class will be used for the creation, correct?
Yeah, let's say in a minute.
Okay.
So here we can place all our arguments. All our arguments. Sorry, I need to extract them. Place it here.
Well, we already have client ID and hotel ID, hotel room ID.
Yeah.
And I would say we don't need the booking ID field in this DTO object.
Yeah. So here is my actual point. Okay, so I was ready for it. So our service, our booking service, will talk to the database. So our database, let's say, is our downstream. Can I say it? I don't know. So I propose to accept booking data transfer object and return booking data transfer object. Okay, so we will return this entity to UI and we will accept this entity. But as Danila said, booking ID is something which will be created, will be generated from the database side. So there cannot be ID in our initial request. Okay, so we have to introduce another data transfer object, which will be called CreateBooking data transfer. And here we won't have this ID. And yeah, so can be some different business logic scenarios when you should have some field during creation, or vice versa. You shouldn't have some field during creation. For example, last update date. Again, last update date can't be here. It should be created by our database. So again, last update date will be present here, but not in CreateBooking detail. So I will propose to change booking detail to CreateBooking detail here.
So this way we protect ourselves from some malicious requests. If you accept the booking detour, you can accidentally use the ID from this detour, and you're not really supposed to use it. And here with the CreateBooking detour, it doesn't have a field ID. You cannot use it.
Yeah, and one more point, actually, maybe for me, this is the most important part. Again, let's say we have a lot of arguments here, and let's say our booking service is used everywhere. Let's say, I don't know, our booking service is used in 20 endpoints. If we have to introduce one more argument, some dummy argument, I don't know, some Boolean dummy field, there should be like a lot of changes. It will be like minimum 20 changes in 20 different files. It's a bad practice. If we are using data transfer object, I can just introduce this Boolean field here, and it will be just one line change, and that's it. So yeah, I think this data transfer object is very, very, very good pattern.
And we have to change the validator.
Yes, agree. Since CreateBooking validator.
While you are updating, I will answer a few questions. Oh my god, the question was deleted. So yeah, I will still answer it. The question is, why do we need to create this create detour if we can just use ID that is equals to null? Usually in almost all cases, ID will be null and it will be okay, but in some cases, someone will send you ID equals 1, and you will probably override some data because you're not expecting this field, you're not validating that it is null in this case, and it will cause problems. It definitely will. And I wanted, we had some comments How to distinguish two long parameters in the method create. It had long user ID and long room ID before we refactored it. And the point is, you don't. If you have a method with many arguments and two of them are of the same type, you will eventually mix them. I had several cases where we had like 5 arguments in the methods, and the last were min and max, and we passed them in the wrong order. Maybe you're more maybe you're paying more attention to your code than we did, and you will have less bugs than that. But I think once in a year or two, you will make such a mistake. So it's better to have less arguments. Maybe 3 is a reasonable maximum. Okay, so we are implementing a mapper. Why do we need it?
Yeah, so since we have introduced data transfer objects, we have some compilation errors since our repository is actually accepting actual booking, right? So we have to somehow map our data transfer object to actual booking, right? So I should create some methods. So the first method, which will be called map to booking. So you will see how why booking here is actually necessary, I would say. Okay, so
and I think I'll answer a few more questions. The comment was about the validator. In case you wanted to throw the same exception, you may just use short circuit end instead of if waterfall in the validator. Yes, you can, but I wouldn't really say that this code is better. Not in all cases, but in my opinion, sometimes it's easier to read multiple if throw than to read if and some gigantic if inside. It's more difficult to understand what it is.
And yep, agree. Actually, totally agree.
There was another comment. Would it make sense to have booking validator class with different validation methods for create, update, etc. operations? Yeah, you can use it. It actually depends on the validating framework that you're using. So maybe with the Spring it wouldn't work, but we do not integrate Spring. So maybe you're right. Yeah.
Okay, so for the time purposes, I will just return new booking and new booking tutor. So mapper implementation here would be straightforward. So I think we
You just have to copy paste all the fields that exist in the one object.
And if you are talking about, let's say, there can be some very valid arguments about boilerplate code here, but there are some very useful frameworks. Let's say you can check out Mapstract framework.
The most popular, probably.
Yeah. So there are some frameworks that can reduce boilerplate code for mapping. So okay, so now we have mapper. So here we will map to booking. And actually, so let's maybe talk about that part later. So what do we have? what do we have? What else do we have?
I think we should fix this compilation error.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to.
Yeah, so what object do we create from the create method? I think we should return converted object that book repository dot create returns to us.
Yeah. I just actually. Yeah. You see, there are a lot of methods that that create entities like that. So with meta signature void, with return value void. So if we're talking about Spring and transactional notation, I can just use ID from booking. Yep, because of entity manager and etc. So you can actually check out my video about Hibernate. But yeah, here maybe it's not like straightforward how we can find the booking ID here. So
You can change the create method to return just some object.
yeah, okay. Let's imagine that. Yeah, okay. Sorry. Let's say that we have this kind of. Okay. For now, it will be very.
Yeah, so we're not really working with this class. We are working mainly with the service. In real project, you would have a different repository.
Yeah, okay, sorry, I just lost a bit. So we would have something like that, right? And here...
We don't actually need to do find by ID.
Yeah,
We can just map
so
to the
since we... Yeah. Okay, so something like that.
What's next? I don't like these nulls.
Okay. So, what is your proposal here?
Well, I don't like methods that return null. I don't like to see the null in my code. And because we're using Java 8 or later, we can use optional class.
Yep. Totally agree. So, do you want me to return optional empty, or should we like refactor repositories?
Well, let's start with the repositories.
Okay.
Yeah, the point is in Java, do not ever return nulls. Working with nulls is difficult. It's not always obvious. Is it, well, if the method can return null or not. If you would like to return nulls sometimes, you can return the optional of something. Optional is a utility class that can have a value or it can have no value. So here we return optional.off, it will have value. If you call optional.empty, it will return an equivalent of null. But if we compare the optional to an actual null, optional is much easier to use because it has some convenience methods that we will see soon.
Okay. So, actually, I don't like it. Maybe so we can, since we're using optional. And what do we want to do if client is not present?
Well,
we can
According
throw
to the requirements, we have to fail the booking. So yeah, if we throw the exception, the booking will fail, and we can output some nice message to the user.
So client not.
No, just
this
new
one?
client not found without throw here.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, so we have a class client not found exception. Okay, so we just didn't see it. Okay.
Yeah,
So
again
here, if
introduce
the
constructor.
repository returns some value, we will get it from the optional. And if we return the empty optional, we will throw some exception. And in a minute, you will see that it's easier to read.
So
Hopefully.
client is not found. Booking. Yes.
If the exception is client not found exception, I wouldn't specify that client is not found.
Okay. Yeah.
Here we can specify the ID of the client that we tried to find. Request get client ID, yeah.
Okay, and same here, right?
Yeah, so we don't need to bother about nulls. They are handled, the exception is thrown, and the code is smaller than it used to be.
Yep. So good optional usage here, I would say. Okay, so while still typing, maybe we can discuss next topic. Maybe.
Yeah, but I don't see the code. I don't see any problems in
it. Okay. Yeah, so actually, I have one comment about mapper. So yeah, maybe it's already like came up in comments, maybe not. So actually, I lied about straightforward mapper implementation because here we have CreateBooking data transfer object with just client and hotel room IDs, right? But actual booking should have actual client and hotel room, right? So there are two approaches. We can do these things actually in the mapper, right? And we can set client and hotel room here, or we can map it before these invocations, right? And yeah, that's it. So map without client and hotel room and set them here in booking service. So what do you prefer? So I can explain what I would prefer actually here.
Yeah, sure. What do you prefer?
So yeah, I would leave this mapper implementation as it is. So just CreateBooking DTO and that's it. So we have these checks about client and hotel room. So please don't forget that since we have some kind of validation here, we have requirements that if client is not found or hotel room is not found, booking should fail. Booking should be mapped only after we have verified that client does exist and hotel room does exist. So first of all, this is important. And that is why I would prefer to just map simple fields in mapper. Here, introduce, sorry. So I would prefer to do it like that. So here we will have booking mapped booking and that, and then set client. So yeah, I actually will say that you can disagree with this approach. I have seen different approaches for that. But again, from a transactional perspective, if we are talking about JPA, Hibernate, it's actually better to do it here. Just let's see, trust me. So yep, something like that. Okay. So any more suggestions, points? Maybe. So we already have.
Well, nothing really catches my eye. Maybe we could open my SQL connector. I think we had something prepared for it too. Yeah, so it was. Yeah, so here we have methods find client by ID, and it has comments.
Okay.
Comments of what can be improved. So in general, I would say that using declarative approach is better than to use imperative. So here I would, when we try to find client by ID, here we can have a cycle and if operation. I would probably prefer a stream, especially sometimes we have to do more things in this method. So we have to make one if, map the value, have the second if, etc. So yeah, I would rewrite it to the streams. So yeah.
Yeah. So do you want me to map first, or do you want
No,
to just
here
filter?
we don't have a map. I just talking about potential.
Yeah, but we can map to ID and then but we can't return it. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we cannot.
Yeah, okay. So client get ID. So I think we'll need to use objects class.
And always try to throw some specific exception, even in places where you do not expect exceptions, because one day it will fail and you will have a stack trace in production. You just see your runtime exception and you don't understand what went wrong. So yeah, it's easier to create a custom class, maybe for this one particular place, but you will definitely be sure what went wrong in each particular case.
Yeah, so maybe different topic to discuss here. So actually, I will return now here.
Why?
Because we have optional wrapping here.
I think the optional should be put to the level of MySQL connector, and we should not return null. So the MySQL connector dot find client by ID should return optional of client.
Yeah. So if let's say I have the possibility to edit MySQL connector as I want, then yeah, totally agree. I just imagine that, let's say, we should make it like if we say that MySQL connector is third-party integration, something like that, then it can return null. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you can update it to return optional.
Yeah.
And yeah, from my production experience, streams are not only easier to read, but they are sometimes much shorter than the actual imperative code. So I had the case when I shortened like 15-line method to the 5-line method just with introducing streams, and it was easier to read. So in general, I would probably prefer them, but not in all cases, probably.
Yep. Yep. Okay, so can we move on, or we have some questions maybe?
We don't have questions. We have time, so I think we should be wrapping up.
Oh, okay. So I actually think that we have covered a lot of points here. So a lot of changes, a lot of improvements, a lot of let's say patterns were introduced. So yep, I think we did a good job.
Yeah, I see a lot of lots of comments on the We Are community. We wouldn't be able to answer comments on all of them, even if we had 1 more hour. And yeah, I read some of them. I agree that this code is not ideal. There are a lot of things that can be done. Also, like reducing the number of fields in this service, maybe splitting it into several services, etc. But we tried to focus on some other problems that were, in our opinion, much more important, like returning nulls, following single responsibility. So I hope you understand us.
Yeah. So I maybe really want to add that you can't just improve the code, let's say from zero to hero. So you should improve it step by step. So we have improved this code from terrible to maybe
Okay.
not great, not terrible, right? So yep, I agree that there are some points here that can be discussed, but yeah, I see the situations where I can approve this code, at least if we have some, I don't know, some hot fixes, some pull requests that should go to production tomorrow. I see that I can approve this code.
Yeah, I agree. So, yeah, thanks guys for joining us today. Thanks a lot for your comments. And see you next week on the Light Talk. Thanks again, Ivan, for the great presentation.
Yep. Thanks everyone. Have a nice weekend. Bye bye.